Hey, welcome back friends, TechTale here. Today I want to talk about Solak. In case you guys have not been paying attention at all or you've been living underneath a rock, Solak is now in the game. It is the new high-level boss, the big tree boy if you've been watching Reddit. But essentially, it's a very, very hard boss, and not many people have actually been able to kill it, but there are some pretty interesting numbers that comes with this. The first thing I want to go over is the cost of the first Solak kill. Next up, there was a big bug that people were abusing to get some easier Solak kills, so I do want to mention something that they've said about the bug abusers before I finish up this video, and then I want to go over exactly what I plan on doing with Solak, if I plan on killing him, when I plan on killing him, and how many times. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. The first thing I want to go over is how much money was actually spent on getting the first Solak kill. One thing that we do know, because Mod Ramen actually did mention it on Twitter, is that 115,000 people died before Solak was finally vanquished. That is an insane number of people. Also, when you take into account that people can go into the instance and lobby out, even more people went into those instances than 115,000. But 115,000 people died to Solak's hand. That is absolutely insane. I was not expecting to get that high before somebody finally killed Solak, but with it being such a long fight and so many different mechanics that he has, I totally understand why it was that way. So, we need to take into account how much they spent on their inventory supplies. First off is overloads. I figure they used at least 2 doses of overloads, and I'm assuming the majority of people use supreme overloads, so that's about 50,000 GP right there. The food is kind of up for debate. Some people are using sailfish soups, but I'm going to go ahead and just assume everybody's using at least sailfish. I doubt that people are trying to eat with rocktails or much lower than that. So at least sailfish are used, and from the RS guy I did get a general inventory of what people are bringing, and he had about 20 sailfish soups in his inventory, but I'm assuming at least people are using sailfish, so that is about 60,000 GP in their inventory right there. Ceridome brews, looks like he had about 20 in his inventory. I'd imagine that people are bringing quite a few Ceridome brews, at least 10, 15. So that's another 400,000 GP that was in his inventory, and then Super Restores, he had 5. Could see anybody doing from about 3 to 8, depending on how long they expect the fight to be. So another 100,000 GP right there. All in all, that means in your inventory you have about 600,000 GP. I do imagine you're using at least half that inventory for the majority of kills. It doesn't seem like Solak has much of a one-hit mechanic. If you want to, you could just eat through everything and he shouldn't deal you too much damage. The only thing that could kill you rather quickly is the roots in the first phase. But besides that, you're going to be using a lot of your inventory. So I'd imagine at least 300,000 GP was spent per death, just on supplies. When you math that out, it is 34.5 billion GP. Yeah, you heard that right. 34.5 billion GP that was just spent on supplies for the 115,000 player deaths. Obviously, more was spent on those supplies. I'm just trying to get as conservative as an estimate as possible so that it's hopefully not overdoing it. But yeah, that's a lot of money. And also, from 115,000 deaths, I'm just going to go ahead and assume everybody had a Ring of Death on. With that many kills, I'm assuming people didn't actually go to death. They used the Ring of Death, which means that you had to use 15% of its charges every single time you die, or approximately 800,000 GP every single death. So that means the estimate would be about 90 billion GP. But I'm assuming at least half the people were actually using the practice mode, which you don't obviously have to use the Ring of Death charges. So that brings down the cost to 47.5 billion GP that was spent just for the Ring of Death. When you add those together, you get 82 billion GP that was spent, as a conservative estimate, remind you, for the first kill of Solak. If you take that into consideration, that is, what, the first Blighted Bow went for like 4 billion GP? That is 20 Blighted Bows that you'd have to get just to make up that cost. And that was just for one kill. Obviously, people have been getting better at the kills, so it's going down how many deaths per kill that they're getting. But 82 billion GP is an astronomical number to get the first kill. If that was on any one person, I'd imagine it would bankrupt them. But because it was distributed throughout the community, it was manageable. And people were learning all the mechanics during that time, so it should be getting easier now. The next thing I would like to discuss is the bug abusers. If you guys didn't know, the bug has already been patched, so I think it should be safe to talk about now. But there was a bug with the Steel Titan. Essentially, there are phases with Solak, and the final phase is the hardest phase. It's rather easy to die during that phase, so a lot of people were trying to come up with ways of actually skipping past it, and they did find one. The Steel Titan actually did not count as damage towards that cap. It's kind of similar to a non-player damage type thing, and the idea was that once you hit a certain life point total, it would phase into the final phase, and that damage was only counted if a player dealt that damage. So essentially what you could do is use the Steel Titan and just let the Steel Titan DPS down Solak till he was very, very close to dying, and then a player would phase him off to phase 4 and kill him almost immediately, skipping over the entire final phase, which is, like I said, the hardest phase. And that was obviously a bug, but people were abusing it and getting a Solak kill with that bug, which was a lot easier, and people were getting their comp cape back. A lot of people were actually getting the blighted bows from using this bug. And they put a Reddit post up saying exactly what they were doing about that, and they do plan on essentially banning people. That's the way it is. They mentioned, in this situation, we felt the experience and caliber of players who were exploiting the bug, combined with the extraordinary damage that could be dealt, would lead the player involved to fully realize that this mechanic was not intended. Yeah, it took them a little while to actually mention that this was a bug, and people were abusing it, saying, oh, they haven't officially announced that it was a bug yet, so I can just go ahead and abuse it as much as I want. It was in the middle of the night during UK time. Of course they're not going to be having their PR team available in the middle of the night on UK time. And people were abusing the heck out of this bug. Apparently 252 people defeated Solak during this period, and they are investigating every single kill of Solak to try to track down the people that are abusing this. And let's go ahead and check to see what they said. They will receive an appropriate penalty. They did not explicitly say that they are banning people, but just due to the way that they worded everything, I am going to go ahead and assume that there are going to be people banned for this. I know there was a streamer that was blatantly abusing this and streaming it on stream, saying they have not officially said that it was a bug yet, so I can go ahead and abuse it as much as I want. That is not how Jagex works. I would be surprised if he does not at least get a temp ban for this, possibly even a perm ban. Yeah, it's a sad time that they do have to do this, and obviously it's sad that there was this bug that seems like something that is pretty obvious to test, in my opinion, but obviously QA cannot test everything, so one bug did slip through and people are going to be reprimanded for it. And last but not least, I want to go over my personal plans with Solak. And the short answer is I don't really have any. First off, I know that Solak is going to become easier as people figure out more and more about how to actually kill Solak and figure out better and better strategies. So for right now, I do not plan on killing him at all. I do not want to dump that much money into figuring out how to kill Solak. I know that duo mode is actually a lot easier than 7-man mode, so when I do plan on killing Solak in the future, I will do duo. I will not do it as a 7-man giant group, because all it takes is one person to screw up and die for the entire 7-man team to die. And also on phase 1, the routes apparently are a lot harder when you have 7-man, just because it's so much harder to communicate between people. Obviously, if you are in a room with each other, which is the way that they were testing out Solak, the 7-man doesn't seem like the worst idea in the world because you can openly communicate with each other pretty readily. But even over Discord, people might think that they're talking, but they don't hit the push to talk button, or there's just too many people talking all at once, and possibly they don't have somebody that is actually leading them. I know that I was watching a streamer, and he was actually leading the team and making sure that he was the leading voice, and other people were calling out things to him. So you need a shot caller. And that's not something that many people on RS actually are used to. So for right now, 7-man is going to be extremely hard until they basically the PVM community kind of gets their stuff together and start getting shot callers that are really good at shot calling and telling people exactly what to do while managing a lot of other things, and other people are getting used to calling out different things, very similar to other massive multiplayer games like League of Legends or Dota, other games like that. We just haven't developed as a community in the PVM enough to get to that point. Hopefully we will in the future, but for right now, duo mode is just a lot easier because it only takes 2 people. So in the future, I will plan on killing Solak as a duo mode, just not right now. And I'm hoping that people come up with some decent guides and hopefully even submit them to YouTube. If I find a decent Solak guide in the next week or 2, I'll probably post it in the description here. And hopefully I will be able to get into Solak a couple weeks from now when everything gets a little bit more figured out. If you guys do enjoy this kind of video though, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below so you can see all my future content. Also hit the like button so I know that you like this kind of video. Also make sure you leave a comment. Go ahead and pay respects for all those dead. Hit the F button down below, or just say whatever you have on your mind. As always though, have a good one.